I think that the argument just quickly that needs to be made with DJ Lagway. He started as I said this at the beginning of the show. He started at the end of the season. Graham Mertz went down with the injury. It was a little bit of a feeling out period. He had some unreal throws that he uncorked against Samford, and then he had some bad decisions. He got banged up. What'd you say?
I mean, he made one against Georgia that everybody's internet broke.
Right. He had some really high highs and some really, really low lows. I don't think he's broken out yet. And when I say that I think that DJ Lagway breaks out in his sophomore season in 2025, I am saying that I think that this guy is going to be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the country. He has unreal arm talent. He has shown natural decision-making that just needs to improve, that he needs more reps. I think that this one-off season is going to be enough for him to take that step forward, being a part of the program, being around the guys, helping build chemistry with his receivers and his offense. DJ Lagway has the goods to be one of the best players in college football and then to go on to be a top draft pick. I feel like that this year is going to be the year for him. And the one last piece, the advantage that he has, Blake, over a guy like Nico, who we had high hopes for and didn't really live up to it. Nico didn't start until the bowl game. DJ had a lot of bullets that he got to see that were able to get some negative things out of his system. So I think that's a big difference that needs to be pointed out.
I just don't know if the number 1 overall player in the country could be breakout for me when you're in the recruiting process. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying though. So let's get there. I couldn't get myself there to be like, hey, a guy that led Florida to not having a losing record is going to be breakout. I think him leading them not having a losing record was more of a breakout more than any statistical thing that we can point out. I think that. So the reason I didn't put him in there was because, listen, the stats didn't care. He led them to wins and led them to a bowl game win, which then ultimately, Joe, we were number 1 during the season talking about Billy needing to be fired. And then number 2, we were talking about that they were going to have a losing season. He led him out of that. So that's where mentally I was. In reference to him, let's talk about Florida. I've been a little bullish on Florida a little bit here because I think that they can do some positive things. At receiver, they got a lot of pieces. They got Trey Wilson returning. You get Dallas to come in. Can the young freshman break out? You have a really good running back rotation. You got some good offensive line depth, and then you have the quarterback on top of that. My worry, Joe, is not DJ Lagway. My worry is that when he wasn't making plays and putting things on a dime, guys around him in moments didn't step up. That was the biggest thing for me. You had some drops in critical moments. Can everything else around DJ Lagway be better? Billy is, I don't want to say stubborn, but Billy is in his own way when it comes to play calling. Sometimes, like, Joe, I think about the Tennessee game as an example, right? Like, you go into overtime with Tennessee. Like, you should have won that football game. Can DJ lead you to winning that game is very possible. I'm with you. Every athletic ability and athletic trait is there. I think he's a pure passer better than Nico was. He's not as mobile, but it didn't matter. The throws that he makes are ridiculous, but more than his big arm. What was crazy to me was in crunch time third downs when he made right throws, how accurate he could be. Now, I know he was around like 54, 55% completion percentage. There were some times where he looked really bad on third downs. But look at him down the stretch, man, against LSU, a ranked team, Ole Miss, a ranked team. He put the team on his back and made some critical throws. I don't know, though, Joe. It's not that I'm not confident in DJ Lagway. My reason for him not being a breakout player, if you told me, Blake, why wouldn't you put him there? It has nothing to do with him. It literally has everything else to do around him. Because I saw a team that struggled protecting the quarterback. I saw a team that in most instances in spurts, they couldn't run the football. And then Blau comes in, Blow, whatever his name is, the 13 comes in. They start running the football because he's physical. But outside of that, Joe, they had some issues. They were one of the, I think, third or fourth in drop passes in the SEC. He didn't have the things around him that could propel him to be better. By the way, on third down, Joe, they were horrendous. I mean, some of the throws that he made on third down were ridiculous that got dropped. The question that I'll ultimately have for DJ Lagway it's never going to be him and his athletic ability or development or his work ethic. How does everything around him go to him for him to take that next step is why the questions that I would ask.
That's fair. And we have been a little cautious on expectations for Florida this upcoming season. I think Billy Napier, his success and him sticking around, one, it was clear that he was given this extra period of time because of DJ Lagway, because of needing to see it through to see if it was going to come to fruition. If Billy Napier gets to stay for longer, it's going to be because DJ Lagway hits his potential. Who do you want to, instead of jumping back and forth between offense and defense, because you said you had a Florida guy, can we talk about the defensive player that you had for Florida so that we can kind of pair these two together?
This is a deep stretch, and I am admitting that statistically, there's absolutely nothing that I can technically point out that you'd be like, you would look at it and be like, Blake is an idiot. You ready?
Well, I say that a lot anyways.
Of course you do, because you hate me.
I'm joking.
You hate me, my wife, my children, my whole life.
No, stop it. Don't put that narrative out there.
Caleb Banks, the interior defensive tackle. Joe, when I look at the way that Caleb Banks performed at the end of the season, he had 4.5 sacks in the last 4 games. 4.5. Now, a lot of those came against Ole Miss, where he basically took over the entire game. I look at LSU. It's not the statistical stuff that he did. I look at Florida State. I look at Georgia. Now, you'll look at the Georgia game and say to yourself, Blake, he had 2 tackles. Joe, he was pushing the offensive line around. He was creating havoc early, and why that game was so close early and why Florida stayed around. Let's go to the red zone. And remember, that was a 1-score game until the end. Well, what happened to Georgia in that first half? Caleb Banks is what happened. I look at Ole Miss. Joe, statistically, you can say whatever you want, but I have an interior defensive lineman that can play exterior that physically was dominating dudes down the stretch. 6'6", 325 is Caleb Banks. It's a deep stretch, and I understand that it's a deep stretch. What do we call breakout? Like, is he going to have double-digit sacks? Probably not. But when I can look at a guy on film over and over and over and over and over again, and I'm like, listen, man, he might not run things down, but he destroys plays. Joe, the last thing that I'd say about Caleb Banks here, that Ole Miss game, everybody says, oh, hey, DJ Lagway, the running game is what won him the game. BS. If you go back and watch the second, the third, I think it was the first interception that Jackson Dart threw. Joe, Caleb Banks was killing him. I mean, he killed offensive lines in the SEC. It is a stretch. The kid had 10 solo tackles. He had 22 total, but 10 solo tackles. The way that he finished in the running game and the passing game, to me, if there's somebody that's going to break out that nobody is talking about, I love this kid. I think he could be a terror in the SEC. And I think we could look up in the draft process a year from now and be like, oh, my God, who is this kid?
Well, looking at his recruiting profile, I mean, he's enormous. He's a massive kid. I like the deep pull. I'm not
deep pull now.
I'm not admittedly caught up on him enough. Again, because like I'm so deep into draft film right now because it's the draft cycle. I like the thought though. Like if you have a player who down the stretch was a big reason for a team's defensive success, those are the types of players that you need to latch onto. He's a former 4-star recruit. Billy Napier needs to hit on these guys that were former 4-stars.
And a returning senior.
Right, a returning guy that we hadn't seen much from before. I like the pick, though. I if you had came out here with a defensive tackle who's like sawed off like 6 foot 310, I probably would have been like, all right, you're out of your damn mind. But I will always bet on traits. And if he had a little bit of some bright spots at the end of the year, he's a defensive tackle. He doesn't need to put up gaudy numbers. His impact is going to be found in other ways, which is diverting attention.
The thing with me with Caleb Banks is it's not the bright spots. It was the play in, play out of him dominating offensive lines. I mean, listen now, okay? Post-Texas game for Florida. Let's just call it what it is. Something clicked for them. Now, is that DJ Lagway starting full-time, him being back, being healthy? We attribute that, or Billy Napier being, Scott Strickland coming out and saying that Billy Napier is going to be there. Look, I don't know. Something clicked in that locker room. But I saw a kid that wanted to play for Billy Napier. I saw a kid that, again, forget the stats. Joe, I have it on my phone if we absolutely need to go through it, because I'm literally watching this last night. He's taking Will Campbell on a ride. He's taking Emory Jones on a ride. Oh, by the way, he's taking Caleb Banks on a ride. And I'm talking about, like, Joe, physically dominating guys that we're talking about in this year's draft that are going to be at the tops of the draft, right? Like Caleb Banks, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, whoever it is, taking them and putting them in lawn chairs. He did it against Ole Miss. Again, when you have that presence in the middle and a guy that, like, listen, it's not a talking point. Nobody's going to talk about him. Nobody's going to bring him up. 88 for Florida, dominated human beings. And for me, this is the thing that I think is going to be unnoticed for Florida too. I ain't seen that since Urban. I have not seen a guy in the interior that was that nasty in the running game that I'm like, oh shit, that's Florida. Like in 2007, 2008, the 2010s. Oh shit, a dude 6'6", 325 pounds. I've seen Florida look like that before now. I'm telling you, you're going to put this kid's film on and you're going to be like, that damn Blake, I hate that he's right. But I'm telling you, listen to me. I promise you on everything that is merciful and pure, this kid has the potential to be special.
I am curious to watch him. And having good defensive linemen is so important in any conference. So
listen, you know that I don't want to come out here and like trash LSU, right? Like, go watch it. Go watch it. I'm telling you, this kid is insanity. I mean, he is physically dominating. Go watch Texas. Please, dear God. They're doing, Joe, last thing. They're doing a down block on him. Banks is doing a down block on him. Joe, he physically tosses him aside like a rag doll. I'm like, dude. I
love how excited you are about this kid. This makes me really happy.
Listen.
I got one other kid.
If you come in here next year, a year from now, and say Caleb Banks potentially going to be in the first round,
I don't know first round if it's gonna be that much of a jump, but like I'll watch him. I'll give him a nod. But
it can run too.
I got a kid though that I know it's gonna get you juiced up as well. I'm gonna go with my first defensive guy.
Okay, who it is?
A player that you have brought up before, and you watched him. No. You watched him in the playoff. No, he already broke out. You watched him in the playoff, and you said to me like, "Man, that kid can run." And you told me you texted somebody in the league or something about him, and they were agreeing with you. I'm talking about Sammy Brown, the linebacker from Clemson. So this is what I love about him. I was reading a little bit about him.
I like this one.
He didn't start this definition of a breakout. He didn't start the year, but because he was doing so well, they found ways to get him onto the field. His stat line, I didn't realize was as good as it was. The article that I pulled this from, he had 69 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. The way that he was able to produce that is because he is an insane athlete. I remember hearing about him as a recruit. He was somebody that just kept getting brought up on recruiting outlets like, hey, man, watch out for this kid. Watch out for this kid. Teams are really excited. Kids, teams are trying to get him away from Clemson because he's that crazy of an athlete. He will run sideline to sideline. He will hit you. He will explode through contact, all of those things. Having athletic defensive players has been the key to success for Clemson. It felt like they were getting away from that a little bit over the past couple of years. They just haven't had that like really premier defensive guy. Sammy Brown is that player, and he is a head knocker. I can't wait to see what he does this year, man. I think he could be a 120-plus tackle guy if he plays to his potential.
Speaking of LSU, we were just talking about like, hey, go trash my team. He felt like Harold Perkins to me in a lot of ways. It's different position.
Yeah.
A linebacker that rushed the passer at an elite level. Let me go with Sammy Brown. Let me expand on that conversation I had with a guy in the league.
Okay.
Joe, he had 5 sacks, right? This past season. That's not what they were clamoring, or this guy was clamoring me about. The 3 passes defensed are him coming on a blitz, knowing that he won't get there and jumping and knocking the ball down. Quinn Ewers is listening to our show right now, and he's saying, hey, I remember 2 of those. The point about this that I would make with Sammy Brown, to massively agree with you, when you have a linebacker that had 80 tackles and more than half are solo, he's all over the field. He is sideline to sideline. Joe, I saw Texas try to run away from him. They couldn't. And the times that he played Georgia, game 1, he's sideline to sideline. They did not miss on this kid. When we talk about 5-star bust or hits, this kid is it. Joe, he's Anthony Hill from Texas in a lot of ways to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of reincarnated. You can put him on the edge. You can blitz him from inside. He can run sideline to sideline. This kid is a bona fide superstar. I think you nailed it here. Look, you're right. I am juiced up about him. He is a bona fide superstar. Everything that he did down the stretch for Clemson. I think of the SMU game and the ACC championship game. Joey, he has, I think you said, 11 tackles for loss, 12 tackles for loss, whatever it was.
Yeah, he had 11 total tackles for loss, 5 sacks on the year.
I mean, let's go back to SMU. I mean, vehemently winning in the game. Let's go back to Texas. Texas needs to get a first down at the end of the game. They can't do it because Sammy Brown's in the building. I think you're right. I think that this kid's a bona fide superstar. Now, here's the question that I would add on to this. Now that you have a new DC, by the way, your DC was fired. This kid had this much production with a down defensive play calling unit that you thought that you had to adjust for. You go and get Tom Allen, who's had a lot of success with guys in the inside at linebacker. You go and get Will Helt. So now what do you do? Peter Woods, what do you do? Joe, I think the interesting thing, I talked about this with Lagway. I'm worried about things around him. With Sammy Brown, I'm intrigued about how much more we can see from him now that he's got things and pieces around him that can elevate that play. Listen, man, offensive lines don't do slide protections anymore. I saw Texas get scared of the kid and start sliding to him, and he was wrecking the game, and they would just decoy him and they would pull him out. He is going to be, I never like to use this word, he can be an elite player. I'm with you there.
Let me add this too. You brought up Tom Allen. This isn't like a 1-to-1 projection because I don't think Sammy Brown moves to edge rusher, but Abdul Carter was playing middle linebacker. Tom Allen comes in. Abdul Carter moves to edge rusher. He's now going to be likely a top 3 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Sammy Brown's still going to be playing linebacker. Tom Allen is going to find creative, unique ways to use him. Like he's going to find ways to cause confusion. And a lot of times this happens when you've got just young, fast, powerful linebackers that don't really have the eyes yet. They end up generating a lot of tackle for loss production and sack production because you're just saying, hey man, see ball, go get ball. Just run. Right. That's what they did with Anthony Hill to start. That's what they did with Harold Perkins to start when they were true freshmen as they were starting to learn the game more. I think that having that in his game where he knows how to blitz already and allowing him to eventually, get better and better as sit behind your defensive line, read your cues, see where the ball's flowing. That's where the production ramps up more. But the early sample size of stats that he's had